It's James Steinhubel on the Community Channel on TVU with Roxanne Carr. How you doing, Roxanne?
James, I'm doing fine today. The sun is shining. I'm a gardener. I'm happy.
It's so good. It's so good. It is so nice to see you and to have you on the Community Channel. We got a couple really important things to talk about. But first, for the possibility that there might be someone watching that doesn't know who you are, just a little bit of background, and then we'll get right to the two things we want to talk about.
Well, James, I've been in Alberta since 1990, and I've been locally active as a politician for the last 10 years, starting actually in 207, I guess. Uh, and you know what? I forget when I started, but I've been on council for 10 years and then left council this past election. So I've been out and about in rural and urban Strathcona County.
So good. That's so good. And now you are still very active in the community, and you have two exciting initiatives, programs on the go. You have the project in Bruderheim, which has got a great name. I'll let you tell everything about it, and then we'll talk about the Highland Gathering. So first, the project in Bruderheim.
Excellent. I have been very excited throughout my life and the various jobs I've held, even prior to the political job here in Strathcona County. I've been always very excited about programming, about community, about making things happen and building community. And when I met the CAO of Bruderheim, Patty, she is one of those community champions that you meet once in a while. There's never enough of them. You always have to identify them and work with them as hard as you can. And she looked at her community. She looked at her women's entrepreneurs, her business community, and she said, you know, there's something different about women in business. And there's something very different about businesses in rural Strathcona County and rural Lamont compared to, say, Fort Saskatchewan, Edmonton, and Sherwood Park. Something very different about how they have to run their business. And so we talked and we decided to put together a series of workshops for women in and around Bruderheim. We attract them from Gibbons now, from Strathcona County as well. We all go to Bruderheim. We have some wonderful speakers lined up. We've been doing this for 2 years. We've talked about marketing. We've talked about social media. We have had speakers in on finances and on time management skills. But the beauty of this is not just that it's a speakers series. When we get 30 or 40 women in a room, we give them time and we encourage them to talk to each other, to talk about what their issues are. And you wouldn't believe the solutions that those women find when they get together and talk. So we do that every quarter. We get together. COVID has stopped us for now. We're looking at September, October, and we'll move on. But that program has been so successful for these women in their lives and for the community of Bruderheim. Bruderheim actually won a provincial award for this speakers series aimed at women. So we're thrilled with it and can't wait to get on with it again.
How do women in the county, in the Bruderheim area, how do they connect with the group?
We have them all on an email list, and we send out our emails. We also go onto social media. We have a Twitter account and a Facebook, and we let people know so that we can bring in new women. We have a really great percentage of returnees, around that 40% mark, but we keep drawing in new women entrepreneurs. So it's a great system.
That's the Women's Rising program.
Yes.
Women's Rising, so we can find it on
Women
Facebook.
Rising.
Women Rising. It's very exciting. You know, Bruderheim's got that. It's always been very special even to County Strathcona overall, right? It's this standalone community outside of Fort Saskatchewan, the County of Strathcona, two major municipalities, and it's neat to see
The
that.
mayor there, Carl, is a wonderful guy.
Yeah,
Their council is great, very innovative council, and it's very much home. Talk about empowering people and talk about um, building a community. They have always something going in that community. So, yeah, it's a great place to visit or
yes,
to live.
yes, it's good. It's nice and close to Josephburg, close to Sherwood Park to go out. They got some nice businesses out there. A nice place to visit. They've got a nice park. Everything's lovely out
You
there.
you have to go when you need sausages. You have to go to their sausage market there, their shop. It is excellent.
Yes,
Their
yes, it
their
is.
dog groomers wonderful. Oh, they just have an all-in-one community.
It's good. And now your second project. If you're not busy enough with that, you're involved with the Highland Gathering, Sherwood
That
Park Highland.
Highland Gathering is a wonderful story. It existed as the Highland Games at Fort Edmonton for 26, 27 years. But as things change, Fort Edmonton changed direction, and they decided to go more into rentals, and they didn't want too many events. Unfortunately, their timing was bad. In 2018, a month before the games was supposed to start, they canceled it. Those volunteers were heartbroken, as you can imagine. They have pipers associations. They practice every week. For them, their regional games and their parades, that is everything to them. And having heard the pipes, who cannot want to hear the pipes, right? It just makes your heart beat faster. So the volunteers were in quite a situation. Um, One of the pipers, I know several of them, but one of them said, I will not let this die. It was Mike Johnson. Mike is the heart and the spirit of our Highland Gathering. He came to me and I was so impressed with him. I said, Mike, we will create something. We can't do it in a month. It took us a year. We went to a couple of municipalities, and it was Strathcona County. It was their administration, their Parks and Recreational Department that understood. And I'm glad they did because, when I was on council for 10 years, I preached nothing but get another major event into this community.
Yes.
So I see those seeds actually are prolific and they did work. I was so happy that we were going to be able to work with Strathcona County. Their council welcomed us, and they supported us financially as well as in other many other ways, talking about us, talking to us, working with us. And so we put together what we called the Strathcona County Highland Gathering, or Sherwood Park Highland Gathering is what we called it, and it's on Facebook as the Sherwood Park Highland Gathering. So do go there and talk to us. But that event was supposed to draw 1,200 people because that's what it drew in Fort Edmonton for years. But we got together the most dynamic group of volunteers, and they said, Roxanne, we're going to do this differently. We're going to do it bigger. We're going to do it better, even in our first year. So when those gates opened, we had 30 vendors, which they didn't really have more than 2 or 3 vendors before when they were at Fort Edmonton. But here we had 30 vendors. We welcomed nonprofits in. We gave them a booth free of charge. So when you got to those grounds last July, you saw the museum, you saw our mobile library, you saw anybody that was a nonprofit was welcome onto that grounds. We had food trucks. We were ready for 1,200 people. Well, James, the good news and the bad news together is that there were 5,000 people on site
Wow.
last July. Oh,
Wow.
yes. As I say, good news, bad news. We ran out of food at 4 o'clock. Those vendors, God bless them, the food trucks were calling. They were going out, getting more food, getting more ice. But what a magnificent event we put on for Strathcona County. Everyone was thrilled with it.
What a
So,
success
yeah,
story.
it
Major.
was a wonderful success story. Our sponsors, we got a nice core of sponsors. And then more bad news, as you know, COVID, and everybody has their favorite COVID story, right? Well, my favorite COVID story is that we went to Strathcona County Council. We said, well, we don't know. This was back in February, March. And we said, we don't know how serious COVID is. We don't know whether we're going to have our show. But even at that time, we were aware that the international Celtic games were all being canceled. We knew our guys weren't and our gals were not practicing the pipes. They were not dancing together, of course, and our athletes couldn't train. So we were pretty sure we couldn't do it, but we went to council anyway. And council, in their wisdom, said, you know what? We need to support you. So if this happens, we are going to support you again financially and in other ways. So we had that. And then to top that good news off, our two primary sponsors, Lexus of Edmonton and Imperial Oil, Esso, they stepped up to the plate again and they said, we've already given you our checks for next year. You put them in the bank and just get ready to use them as soon as you can. Unfortunately, now it won't be till 2021 that we touch any monies. But you know what? To have those sponsors stand by us and say, you're doing the right thing, uh, we're with you again, that that fills our heart with joy, actually.
Yeah, that's so good to hear, from the business community. It's such a great, a great report. It's not a story. This is a fact. This is a report. But the effect and the response for the Highland Games in Strathcona, we have we're named after a Lord Strathcona, and Strathcona name. Now I'm not sure if his family came from Scotland, but Strathcona is a Scottish name. So our community, we're connected. We have a strong connection to the Lieutenant Governor here and to the Governor General and to Her Majesty. So to hear that the Highland Games was that successful, because I know other good tries at community events and cultural events haven't had even anywhere 10% of that come out. So that speaks a lot to your team and to the community that put it on, and the community here that is ready for next year. I know it was already a highlight for me. So thank you. That was great. So what's next on the community beat here? Are you gonna pick up anything else, or two's enough, or anyone you want to talk about who's got something
Well,
else on the go?
although we don't have a Highland Gathering this year, we're doing something very unique, very small, uh, but really cool. And I hope you'll come down and watch us. We're inviting the media so that they can report afterwards. On July 24th, if I got that wrong, what's the Saturday in July?
Saturdays in
I think
July,
it's the 25th, actually.
and my calendar
Yeah,
is a little slow. 25th. Okay, yeah.
Saturday, the 25th of this July, we're going to bring out a dozen pipers, and we're going to have them at Festival Place in the Peace Park there, just beside Festival Place. And we're going to have a symbolic march. And that march is to let Strathcona County know that we didn't forget them. We
Hmm.
can't come in force, but we will be there with our dozen pipers, all strategically placed 6 feet apart, I might add. And they're going to go at 3 o'clock on the Saturday. They're going to go around the center in the park. They're going to go up Prairie Walk. So there'll be about a 15-20 minute walk there, piping as we go. And then we're going to come back to the Peace Gardens right beside Peace Park, right beside Festival Place. And we're going to have a special ceremony. And I can tell you a little bit about the ceremony. You mentioned artisans earlier when we were talking, local artisans. There's a marvelous man by the name of Ken Duncan. And he talked to us last year after the event. He said, I want to make you, the Highland Gathering, I want to make you your own Targe. Targe. Everybody look it up in Wikipedia. It's a Celtic shield. It's made of wood and leather. It's about 21, 24 inches wide, round. And they used to go into battle with these targes, and the targe would deflect arrows and swords because of the heavy wood that they were made of. So covered with beautiful embossed leather. And in the inside, there's cowhide. Well, Ken did come true to his word. He did make us a beautiful targe. And then he said, but that's not enough, because I want you to present a keeper targe to competitors in piping, especially youth, a youth competitor every year. And Ken donates this to our organization every year. And I said to him this year, I said, well, Ken, we can't have a competition this year, but how do you feel about giving a keeper to some very special people in our community who have done something special related to piping, related to youth, and during the COVID crisis? So we have picked those people. I'm not saying anymore because it's a surprise for that day, James. You'll have to come if you want to know.
I'm coming.
And we're going to announce it and give them the Targe keeper on that day. We're going to march the Targe all around Centre in the park. So we're pretty excited about that. That's kept me busy, for one thing.
That is so exciting. That is awesome. That is awesome. So then we'll see you on the 25th. And then after the camera's off, I'll get more commitment out of you for more community news. So good.
That sounds like it could be fun.
Awesome. Roxanne Carr on the Community Channel, only on TVU.